So in this address, I would like to use some symbolic factual references to help us understand where we were, where we are, and where our future lies as a growing nation. Mr. Chairman, St. Martin is an island, and that's a physical and geological fact. An island can have different symbolic meanings. On one hand, it can symbolize isolation, separation, and vulnerability. But an island also symbolizes strength, self-reliance, determination, courage, and independence. My main message here today, while St. Martin is an island, in its physical sense, is that we're not an island in a global sense. Mr. Chairman, have you ever heard of the story of the frog that got placed in a pot of water? And when the heat was turned on, it later came to a boil and the frog eventually died? Well, that's where St. Martin is right now. We don't even know we're in boiling water heading to our doom. Why is that, Mr. Chairman? Because the many developments taking place at a global, kingdom, and local level are affecting us right now, Mr. Chairman, and will continue to affect us more in the future. The best example of global effects is the COVID-19 situation and the lockdowns at the start of this parliamentary term in 2020. Being an open tourism-based economy, the future and the direct impact, tourism-based economy, this situation had a direct impact on our nation. Then there was the lockdowns, and then when the other restrictions were lifted, the conflict between Ukraine and Russia escalated earlier last year. And this too had effects on us worldwide. And thirdly, Mr. Chairman, we see the geopolitical shift of the BRICS countries expanding and creating a multipolar world. This will have far-reaching consequences for trade, development, finance worldwide, including the island of St. Martin. And it will bring new challenges and uncertainty, but most importantly, believe it or not, it will bring with it many opportunities for us as a developing nation. Mr. Chairman, as we enter the fourth and final year of the current parliamentary term, let us look back and reflect on the past 3.5 years within the kingdom. Apart from effects of the lockdown, the government and parliament have not been able to function optimally due to different stumbling blocks. I will just name a few. Let me start with the Che Kre Coho. This saga, which ended in the retraction of the Coho Law, confirmed that we as an island are still at the mercy of our colonizer. Conditions was forced down the throats of our citizens, and these conditions will still have generations to come paying back hundreds of millions of our own money, mind you, to our colonizers. And Mr. Chairman, this so-called country package that replaced the Coho is just as bad, if not worse. It will keep St. Martin under the control of the Dutch government for decades to come. A prime example, Mr. Chairman, of modern-day colonialism. And this relationship, this constitutional structure, Mr. Chairman, is the root of all our problems because it blocks our right to developmental justice as a small island development state, just as Dr. Sumer called it during her recent presentation in this honorable house. So let me repeat it again in a stronger terms. This current, abusive, non-functional, one-sided, undemocratic, colonial constitutional relationship between St. Martin and Holland is the root of most of our problems. Unfortunately, Mr. Chairman, looking back at the past 3.5 years as a former coalition member that once supported this present Council of Ministers, I must conclude that this government has been daydreaming since it took office. Despite the many nice words, promises, excuses, letters, consultation, and other sessions, photo ops and handshakes, no clear, practical, and realistic vision has been executed. None of the overarching local issues have been addressed, and nothing tangible has been achieved to benefit our people. Our government seems to be paralyzed as a hostage and victim to our colonizer, not knowing how to defend the paramount interests of the people. Mr. Chairman, how far are we with the associate members of CARICOM? Curacao has it. Why hasn't government clearly asked the UN states in the region for support with finalizing our decolonization process. That's at the purview of the Prime Minister to do. Why hasn't government insisted on the joint execution of the De Graaf and the Van Raak motions? Why hasn't government demanded a follow-up on the SIR report and the Article 73 fact sheet? Why hasn't government followed up on the so-called apology from the Dutch state by demanding debt cancellation based on a motion that was unanimously passed in this honorable House? What is government doing about food waste, security, and pricing? How is government going to secure a sustainable financial economic future for our country?
Morning to you, to my colleague members of Parliament, the Secretary General, and those viewing this meeting. Mr. Chairman, this is the fourth parliamentary closing and opening that, since becoming a member of this coalition, that we have had the pleasure of experiencing. The fact is that this is the first time that one government has been able to enjoy the support of Parliament for 4 terms. And I think that is something very significant that some will try to downplay, but I have my reasons for understanding why we did not move away from the wishes of thousands and thousands of voters that said the constant drop-in of government for political play and for individualism was not something they wanted to see anymore. But Mr. Chairman, during those 4 years, what has the United People's Party been able to do? Well, let me start with you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I am very pleased in your ability to quietly and humbly restore order to the Parliament of St. Martin, considering the havoc that was being done before by your predecessor. And Mr. Chairman, contrary to popular belief, at the time when you came in as Chairman of Parliament, there were 32 outstanding meetings requiring ministers to attend. Mr. Chairman, in our last procedure meeting that we had, we found that there are now 13 outstanding meetings. So whenever they call and talk about outstanding meetings and so on, the facts will show that you as chairman have done an excellent job together with the presidium to get as many meetings that have been outstanding out of the way, and that is the manner in which Parliament should function. So I have to thank you, first of all, Mr. Chairman, for keeping your poise and doing the work in the interest of the people and representing the United People's Party well in your role. We continue to represent ourselves extremely well, both in the government and in Parliament. Because if you really dig away all of the innuendos and the melee that they try to throw our way, one thing everyone and the people of St. Martin look at when it comes to the members of the United People's Party faction here in Parliament and our representation in the government, it is at a high level of work ethic, hard work, and tangible accomplishments. Mr. Chairman, I have focused from the time I entered the Parliament to be a competent legislator that brings definite things that I know can affect the people's lives. Many will remember, of course, the UTS law that provided funds for the first time for police officers to get paid. And people would say, but Rolando, you didn't get the credit. It's not about the credit. It's about ensuring that the people that deserve what they have to get got what they needed to get. And I continue to work in that manner. Mr. Chairman, if you look at our Deputy Leader and Minister of VSA and how he has been able to do things that for so long have gone completely unchecked, raising the minimum wage, raising the pension, dealing with the hospital. When you look at the Ministry of TIAT, for the first time expanding the basket of goods and establishing proper price control within our country. The United People's Party is proven that we did what we had to do and what we promised to the people. We come in here to work. That's what we're here for. We're here to work for the people. And Mr. Chairman, a lot of people do ask, but Rolando, are you happy with the other aspects of the government? Because no government is perfect, and there's definitely some things that I would have liked to see better. I have talked publicly and privately about our manner in handling the government-owned companies and having this so-called hands-off approach and arm's-length approach. Even the faction leader of the National Alliance has mentioned that as well. But Mr. Chairman, the fact is the United People's Party has 2 seats in the Council of Ministers out of 7. And the democracy in the Council of Ministers is that way. Because while we pulled off a miracle in going from 0 to 4 seats, the fact is, in this term, we were the smaller member of this coalition. But I didn't use that as an excuse to say we would do nothing. For example, you recently see that the Minister of ASR did not just sit back and not hear the cries of the people when it comes to GB, and took his own initiative via the Ministry of Social Affairs to do what we can. That is what we do. When the police were having issues, it was not our ministry, but we presented solutions right here in the Parliament that was executed by the government and prevented a disaster that could have happened during Carnival and beyond. The solution in the past was to stand here and say that you no longer support the government. But you know who would have liked that? Those that were in here before and caused most of the problems that we're dealing with today. They would have liked that. They would have won. Not the people, not the parties, their own personal interest. And I said no. Because the moment for the people to decide who is the political party that can truly lead this country, you have had 4 years to carefully observe in the government and in the Parliament who gets the job done.
Mealtime rules. Don't serve yourself first. Do not eat with your mouth open. Don't rest your elbows on the table. Don't make noise when eating. Does not apply when enjoying KFC buckets. When we bucket together, we are as we really are.
Social and health insurance is your social and health insurances.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah, your social and health insurances.
During the hurricane season, a potential tropical cyclone can produce rainfall that can cause flash flooding and rockfalls. Stay away from flood-prone areas during heavy rainfall, such as Jump Up Casino on Emil Plain Road in Phillipsburg, ATLH Road Roundabout, L.B. Scott Road from Emilio Wilson Park until Cake House Supermarket, Zaker's Gut from Petro Plus gas station until the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Welcalaken Road K Hill from Welcalaken Road Roundabout until the One Tete Loke Roundabout, Beacon Hill Road from Sunset Bar and Grill until the beginning of White Sands Road, and Rhine Road, also known as Mullet Bay Road, after Sonesto Maho Beach Hotel to the entrance of Cooper Coy from the intersection of the University Drive until the intersection of Rio Grande. For more information on how you can keep yourself and your family safe this hurricane season, visit stmartingolf.org/hurricane. This public service announcement is brought to you by the government of St. Martin.
Ready? Yeah. 3, 2, 1, pull! It worked. It worked.
And thank you again for coming out to the launch of actually our second headquarters. Our first was kind of silently launched a bit in a ninja way over in Simpson Bay at the former Tender real estate offices. Why two headquarters is the question we've been getting very often since announcing this Soccer Garden presence. And it's very simple. Last time we had one HQ over in Colby, and there were persons who approached us and said, you know, I'd like to come and talk to you guys with my family or with a group of friends, but you're all the way in Colby. I live in Defiance, and those of us who live over here know driving to Colby is like an adventure to Narnia every once in a while. So to better facilitate the way that you can reach us and touch us and engage with us, We opted to have two headquarters, one here in Sutter Garden to service the Sutter Garden area, Guana Bay, Hopi State, Defiance, Dutch Quarter, etc. And one in Simpson Bay to service Coal Bay, Simpson Bay, Pelican, who else votes on that? All of the residents down there who call it home. Doesn't matter if you can vote or not, we've always been the party that just speaks to people, whether or not you can cast a vote, which is, I think, something that sets us apart from the rest. Over the last 4 years, as Patrice mentioned, we have done our best, Rihanna and I in Parliament, to execute the mandate given to us by you. That mandate is largely supervising government. We've followed government when things have gone wrong. We've given them support when things have gone well. We've acted in the best interest of St. Martin when it was actually in the best interest of St. Martin. Recently though, things have been going less than well. Starting, of course, last year, we noticed that we brought a motion of no confidence against Minister of Rami for what we believed was something that our High Council of State had proven was lack of transparency and corruption in our government. That is actually one of Parliament's most important roles, because what you don't want, whether it's 8, 10, 12, or 13, is a rubber stamp majority in Parliament. And so far, that seems to be largely what we have been receiving. Rihanna and I, along the way, picked up Lunida Weaver, who unfortunately could not be here as she's traveling, but she's joined the list as well, as many of you have seen from her public announcement on that fact. When she is back, of course, these headquarters will be a home for you to be able to meet with her, with Ray, with I, with the rest of the candidates, who we will launch when it is actually meant to be launched on November 22nd, which is Postulation Day. So we hope to welcome all of you back here and in Simpson Bay around that time. So, what are the plans for Sutter Garden? This used to be a very popular hangout spot. Some old-time clients are here with us tonight. While we won't be providing cigars, we will be having every Friday when postulation hits, so that will be from about the 23rd of November, a happy hour with PFP right here in Sutter Garden in the evening time. You're on your way home, you're sick of the traffic, you pull off to the side, come and have a drink with us and talk to us about what our plans are. We will also be doing our manifesto launches around that time. It will be available digitally, but for us to go more in depth with it, we will be having meetings here and in Simpson Bay at the two headquarters. So for now, I do want to say again thank you for all the support, and I want to stress that that support remains ever more critical as we go into what many have said to me they consider a do-or-die election. We've come to an end of 4 years of a stable government. But as I've said before, you could be stable in the ICU, you're still in the ICU. So with that being said, thank you again for coming out. We hope to look forward to your support throughout the rest of 2023 as well in 2024 on January 11th so far, barring any catastrophe, not to be caused by us. Enjoy the snacks, enjoy the drinks, and thank you again for coming out, and welcome to PFP's 2024 campaign.
With regard to the party program of the VVD of the Netherlands and the specific reference to the Caribbean part of the kingdom, what it actually entails is not the issue of independence per se. What the VVD is proposing in their party program is that the countries, Curacao and St. Martin, and even the Best Islands get the same treatment as Aruba has in the charter right now. What is that treatment? The treatment of Aruba in the charter where it pertains to kingdom relations is that Aruba has the possibility, if they so desire, to on their own decide we are leaving the Dutch kingdom. If they want to leave the Dutch kingdom, they can make that decision as Aruba, and it will have to be respected because it is laid down in the charter. And the way it is put in the charter for Aruba is not only that they have that right, but also a process to follow in the execution of that right, namely a referendum, consultation of the people, etc., etc. That is also taken up in the Charter. The whole idea of including Curaçao and St. Martin in this right is nothing new. Former Dutch MP Bosman had drafted an initiative, Kingdom Law, to do exactly that. So to include Curaçao and St. Martin in the article that currently grants Aruba the possibility, if they so desire, to leave the kingdom. Where I differed with Andre Bosman on his proposal was that the safeguards that are built in currently for Aruba, such as referendum and consultation and the like, that Bosman's proposal was for that not to be the case for Aruba and St. Martin. And that is what I had an issue with. And if the VVD program is in the same fashion like Bosman's proposal, then I have a problem with that as well. Because while I agree that St. Martin should have that right, it should not be so that it's going to be put in the charter and just left up to a government or a parliament of this country to make a decision like that without consultation and hearing from the people, without having the approval of the people of this country. So it's not the issue of you could go independent if you want. Maybe in essence, that's what it is. But I think if we focus on the question, do you want to leave the Dutch kingdom? Then it would be easier to understand, easier to debate, easier to look at the pros and cons, easier to inform the people adequately before we even seek to get such a decision supported by the people of St. Martin. So that's in essence what I see again coming up in the VVD program. And as I said, if it is in the same fashion that Bosman was proposing it, then I cannot agree with that draft Kingdom Law the way it was proposed. In fact, I have spoken to the MP Kaminga, who was desirous of following through with the proposal of Andre Bosman, with the draft initiative law of Andre Bosman. And I expressed the same sentiments to MP Kaminga as well, because the matter of leaving out the referendum and then saying that, yeah, if that is put in the draft law, then the Dutch MPs could be accused of wanting to decide how things should happen on the island. I don't agree with that, because the whole process as outlined for Aruba at the time, that was done with a reason. And I don't want to believe that at any given time, a government, a parliament, or a government and a parliament randomly will decide, well, this is time for us to leave the kingdom without due consideration for the people, the people's voice, the people's opinion, and the people's decision. I think an issue like that need the decision, need the approval of the people, and not just by a few consultations or hearing or surveys. No, a trajectory that is well thought out, well planned, and well orchestrated. And right now, in my opinion, there are many other issues, including issues in the Charter, that can and should be dealt with before we even start to talk about such a trajectory.
you SZV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SZV is cardless. Request your My SZV account today and enter the virtual office of SZV. Go to szv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Your social health insurances.
With you, the new Kentaco. A combination that will surprise the most curious palates. Combining the deliciousness of KFC chicken and the practicality of a taco. With a doubly delicious ergonomic shape. Wow! Compatible with all types of bites. New Kentaco. Enjoy a double breaded chicken breast with our secret recipe. Cheese, lettuce, and tomato. New Kentaco, the innovation that's in everyone's mouth.
It's hurricane season. Are you prepared? Here are a few tips to keep in mind to help keep you and your family safe. The Atlantic hurricane season runs from June 1st to November 30th, with the peak occurring between mid-August and late October. This hurricane season, be sure to put together a go bag. A disaster supply kit including a flashlight, batteries, cash, first aid and supplies, medications, and copies of your critical information if you need to evacuate. This public service announcement was brought to you by the government of St. Martin.
August 15th is long gone. Can you provide an update as to the recommendation coming from the Committee for Slavery Atonement and, of course, Reparations?
I did receive a preliminary report, as I mentioned. However, due to classing schedules, I wasn't able to have the meeting with the committee as yet to go over their proposals and then forward these proposals on to the Council of Ministers. So in this regard, I don't think it's fair to discuss the points brought forth in a public forum before going through that process with them. So I do ask your patience. As soon as we've had that, we will definitely put a statement out, and hopefully we'll be able to do that within short.
Mr. Earlier on, you spoke of the NEA situation. Where does that sit within the amended budget? Maybe you can provide some more information on that for us.
Because I think I left that part out in the first question from Ms. Shaw regarding the budget. So I was then talking budget 2024, but in regard to budget 2023, the amendment, which is also, I would say, delayed because in 2023, we have multi-animal projections. So even those were then affected. So we had to wait on the same data for Justice and ENYA to be able to put in 2023. So then it's aligned with 2024 multi-animal. So both of them have been delayed, but now 2023 amendment can be sent on once it's finalized. And once they are both finalized, so they'll both likely be sent around close to the same time. But that's also the reason why the amendment was delayed, because in our 2023, we're doing the 3 to 5 year multi-annual projections.